Greetings, YouTube. Once again, happy Wednesday. It's always an exciting day when you have an opportunity in the contest to actually start fresh in a new month of content. It feels like a new season is upon us, and it was a really long season from the last over a month. The Darkhawk stuff, it just felt like it lasted forever, right? So, happy Wednesday once again. Congrats to all Android users who finally get to update the game. Yes, it still really stinks that you all don't have the ability to do the first Trial of the Alchemist, and you won't until February, because ironically, I think Kabam has a heart for giving it to you around before Valentine's Day, that is. But we get to talk about The Thing, who I think is a really interesting champion. I'm not going to say he's going to be a great defender. I'm not going to say he's going to be a terrible defender, because I have been right and I have been wrong about my predictions using the developer notes in the past. I will say this. These are the most developer notes I have ever seen for a champion, and I think the game is trying to give us all these notes to tell us, hey, this guy, especially on certain nodes and in certain situations, if you don't have a bleed champion to counter, is going to be a really, really good defender. I think he looks like a mixture between Korg and Juggernaut. The last time that I predicted that a defender would be pretty darn game-changing was Korg, especially from the video that we saw leaked right before he came in the contest. And what felt like Korg being really effective was the Thorns. The Thing, it's all about the Unstoppable. Because if you don't time the Unstoppable correct, you are going to be in mid-combo. And so just think of like a mixture between Medusa and Juggernaut, where you've got Medusa's auto block, but at the same time, the Thing is literally jumping back into you to counter. And if you're facing a Thing boss or a Thing mini-boss, and I don't care if you've got a 565 or a rank 2 6-star as an attacker, you may be gone. You know, that one counter is going to be very, very hard to actually survive. But the good news is Kabam has put in a fail-safe with The Thing, with bleed champs, that should counter that Unstoppable from triggering if you play him correctly. But if you don't have a bleed champ, it's going to be a struggle, and I predict quite a few summoners will not be prepared, at least at first, for that struggle, just like with Korg. Although there's some Korg counters now, such as Omega Red, that I know have popped up into the game. So let's talk about The Thing. This is a really awkward time to talk about this champion, because as you'll see in the developer notes, a lot of the synergies aren't available yet, because he's going to have synergies with the rest of the Fantastic Four, who hasn't been released yet, and they will slowly be released, I'm guessing, throughout the months that we don't have major other events going on, like the new Avengers movie or Spider-Man Far From Home. Those months, I still predict Kabam will give us champions that are geared toward the movie releases, and they always do a fantastic job of lining up the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the new releases of champions. But otherwise, it's going to be like, hey, we don't have a movie coming out. Let's do some more Fantastic Four characters to celebrate the Fantastic 4-year anniversary. So also, it's worth noting, I haven't talked about this, it's definitely not worth a video, but Kabam changed their logo. It kind of looks like Circle K to me. Circle K was a company that basically went bankrupt, so I'm not sure what that says about Kabam's future. But we've got Kabam on the bottom right, and then the Fantastic Four World's Greatest Week on the bottom left. Talk about hyped. Okay, so we have all of these developer notes. And so I want to talk, you can see in the summary that The Thing is a sturdy defender with multiple immunities. So right off the top, for people who are like, Prof, last time, you did a video saying Korg would be a good defender, but you also said Ghost would be a good defender, and he wasn't. Well, you're right. Ghost's phasing didn't matter in the end as a defender, and if you had Blade and the Ghost Rider synergy with the villain tag, it especially was an easy fight. But in this case, unlike Ghost, who was labeled as much of an attacker as she was a defender, right off the top, Kabam is coming out and saying, look, The Thing is a sturdy defender, multiple immunities, who increases his resistances and can become unstoppable when he gets hit. And I think that unstoppable is going to be a nightmare for so many people who don't see it coming. It just makes sense. And so we're going to scroll down and notice, of course, the big hype. And yes, Otrix continues to bat 1,000 on his data mining for champions. So Otrix, thank you for getting this information out to the community early, especially the fact that this champion was going to be in the science class. The science class always needs better champions to make it better. But yeah, it's all about the generating of rock stacks. This guy might as well be a geologist with all these rock stacks. And this is our first developer note. Rock stacks are things' main ability. Learning how they're generated and making the best use of them is key to both fighting as Thing and fighting against him. And that is because when the rock stacks get to a certain threshold, he becomes unstoppable and gains more Furies, which of course increases attack. And so, I do think it's interesting. It says generate 4 additional rock stacks with a well-timed block, which I always read and interpret that as a parry. And so I am somebody who loves to parry. I parry 24/7. I start out the fight and I immediately parry. Alliance Quest is all about parrying. Obviously, there are certain nodes like unstunnable nodes or stun immune nodes that you can't parry on. But if you can parry, it's a party. And that has always been my thinking when I fight. Maybe there are a lot better fighters out there who just intercept for days and don't need to parry, but that is not me. So, you generate 4 additional rock stacks with a well-timed block. So, if you do 4 parries, that's 16 rock stacks, right? The math's pretty good. I don't teach math, thank God. But, 4 times 4 is 16. And I say 16 because you'll notice on his passive that when the rock stacks last indefinitely up to 15 stacks, any additional rock stacks last for 5 seconds. So once you get to that 15 stack threshold, you are really operating the Thing at his max capacity to be a pain as a defender, especially because you are triggering that unstoppable charge. So, another developer note, the fact that Thing's rock stacks have a duration once he reaches 15 stacks is actually beneficial. When those rock stacks expire, they'll give Thing a passive Fury for the rest of the fight. That's a pretty big deal because you have champs like Star-Lord that you're hoping to get Furies for a small amount of time when you attack. Now, of course, this isn't a combo type attack, so it's really hard to compare champions. But still, to have Furies banged for the rest of the fight, let's just say I wish that my Hyperion had that ability with his Furies, though I love that you can stack them with him for sure. The Thing is hit, and he has 15 or more rock stacks. So again, 4 parries. Just think of it as 4 parries. He becomes unstoppable for 5 seconds, which is a good amount of time, especially in a timed fight like a 3-minute fight for Alliance Quest or Alliance War, and removes 3 rock stacks instead of generating any. So let's say you've got 15, you become unstoppable, you go back down to 12. Well, if you parry and you successfully time that block, you're right back up to 16. So you can become unstoppable, parry, rinse, repeat, stack Furies. Just really impressive. And it says whenever a rock stack is removed when the duration expires, Thing gains a permanent passive Fury, granting plus 36.81 attack. These Fury effects are capped at 60. 60, not 6, 60. So you can multiply 36.81 times 60, which is over 1,800 plus attack capped. That's pretty dang impressive, given he's not starting with the highest attack, but it looks like he will be a far better attacker, not that that's saying much, than Korg. I think Korg is as annoying to fight as an attacker in offense as he is against him on defense. Developer note, this is the main ability to keep in mind when fighting against Thing. As soon as he has 15 rock stacks, any additional hit will grant him unstoppable. This is the developer saying, look, this guy is going to knock you out if you get him to 15 rock stacks. This takes effect immediately, so Thing is able to strike back even if his opponent is still swinging. This means in mid-combo, if you don't take a look at that rock stack number, you're going to be countered sort of like an auto block, but worse because it's unstoppable. That will continue to basically throw his momentum into you, and you could be knocked out. That could be the end of your fight, especially in Alliance War. Special attacks for the next 8 seconds. Things attacks nullify all unstoppable buffs when striking the opponent. So, that's obviously really effective against people who have unstoppable, like Juggernaut. So, Juggernaut might be an unstoppable force, but Thing is an immovable object. Pretty clever way to say Juggernaut does not have any hold any candle against this guy. So, for those of you who haven't beaten the really, really annoying Juggernaut, who's even more annoying now that he got the buff in Act 4, you might want to wait until you've got this guy to counter him. That would be a lot more fun of a fight for sure. Fist of Stone, Thing rips with the ground. I want to move ahead down here and really talk about this. Although the Thing's special attacks gain an additional ability when he has 15 rock stacks and another when he has 20 rock stacks, these also remove all of his rock stacks, but doing so will give him a passive Fury for the rest of the fight for each rock stack removed. So, if you have 20 rock stacks and then you do your special and you convert 20 rock stacks into Furies, that's going to be a crazy amount of added attack immediately. And then if you just do 4 parries in a row, you've got 16 rock stacks back. Now, I want to say, up to this point when I was researching, I thought this is going to suck so badly to fight this guy. But we have a prayer for that not to be the case. And that's why I'm going to say that he's an interesting defender, not an amazing defender. I would have said amazing defender for sure had this one effect not been taken into consideration. I'm so thankful that Kabam has put this into the game to counter the Thing. Because when you scroll all the way down, and you talk about his weaknesses. First off, pretty cool. We have another guy that because of his immunity to bleed, Suicide Masteries like Double Edge are actually going to benefit you because you'll get the attack boost without the bleed damage. But that doesn't mean that bleed can't counter. Not in the traditional sense of causing bleed, but when you go to weaknesses. By the way, it says protection against very, very high damage. Thing's signature ability is excellent at reducing the damage he takes, but it is normally on a very high cooldown. However, when Thing would take a lot of damage in a single hit, this cooldown is ignored and his protection can reactivate. That's trying to protect this defender against someone like, say, a Stark Spidey with 10 poise charges or a Ghost. But the weaknesses, frequent bleeds. So this is really fascinating. And this is the biggest takeaway from this video I want you to get, assuming you're still listening to this video. You might have clicked out. Who knows? Even though Thing is immune to bleed, whenever he would receive a bleed, he would lose or loses 2 rock stacks and doesn't generate any fury from their removal. This can't occur more than once every 2 seconds, but even so, any champion that can frequently, repeatedly trigger bleeds will be able to keep Thing's rock stacks and fury at a low level throughout the fight. Now, you might read that, interpret that to mean a number of things, but to me, I read this to think, all right, Blade's parry is going to be really, really key because as I've said in this video, love to parry. And whenever you parry with Blade, you automatically cause the opponent to bleed. So I am going to be very defensive in my fights against the Thing. I am going to have my well-timed block generate bleed, and even though he's immune to bleed, every 2 seconds, that loses 2 rock stacks. And as long as I keep the rock stack threshold below 15, I won't trigger Unstoppable, and hopefully that means that the fight should go pretty well. These are all my first impressions on this. Obviously, when the Thing comes into the contest and people use him, when they open him and they test him out, we'll gain more data. And that's why for the moment, I'm just going to say he's going to be an interesting defender. Interesting could mean, easy, could mean hard, to be announced. But regardless, you don't want to get him up to 15 rock stacks. That's the one takeaway for sure that we can already generate from this information. So, will you be going for the Thing? Because a lot of people have Science Awakening gems, and they haven't used them yet. Because basically, the 2 main champs you want to save him for are Captain America Infinity War and Void. Do you think he is worth going for? Comment below, let me know. Do you think he's going to be a BS defender, or do you think it's going to be one of those things where you bring in someone like a Blade, you bring the rock stacks down, not too hard? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. This is just my first impression from this information. Comment below, let me know. And as always, thank you so much for watching and supporting my Marvel Contest of Champions YouTube channel.